Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. So we talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm Roach Jeffrey, and subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. We just passed 340 subs. Thank you guys from the bottom of my heart, and I hope I can continue to make great content you guys will enjoy in the future. Now on Thursday night in college basketball, you have the Purdue Boilermakers, who are only coming off their third loss of the season, and they have to travel to the Maryland Terrapins. Who do I think is going to win this college basketball game? Let's break it down. Now Purdue's 22-3. And they're 12-3 in the Big Ten this season, and Matt Painter's done a great job all season with Purdue's roster. A lot of people thought Purdue would be a middle-of-the-pack Big Ten team this year. Everyone knew Zach Edey was coming back, but they didn't know how they were going to perform with two freshman guards. But Purdue has outperformed all expectations, and they're having a great season so far. But they have slipped up a couple of times in the last 2 weeks on the road at Indiana, and they also lost at Northwestern. So Purdue's going to have to get back on track if they want to get this win at Maryland. Now, looking at Purdue's schedule this year, they have wins over Marquette, West Virginia, Gonzaga, and Duke, and all their best wins are in the non-conference so far this season. The Big Ten, they have some really quality wins as well, like at Michigan State, but the Big Ten overall doesn't have as many high-profile teams as it normally does outside of Purdue and maybe Indiana lately, and that's really hurt the Big Ten's image overall on getting marquee wins. But Purdue has a lot of great wins in the non-conference slate, and that's really helping out their resume, and their only 3 losses this season are to Rutgers at home, at Indiana, and at Northwestern, and all those were tough, close losses for Purdue. And it does seem like the last couple of weeks the Big Ten grind is starting to get to the Boilermakers because they did drop those games at Indiana and at Northwestern. And it's going to be a dogfight at Maryland if Purdue's not playing at a high level like they were earlier this season. But Purdue's having a great season because of National Player of the Year frontrunner Zach Edey, who's averaging 22.2 points per game and 13 rebounds. He is so hard to stop. He's 7'4", and he weighs almost 300 pounds. And you have to double team him on every possession if you want to stop him. And a lot of teams, they just let Zach Edey score on almost every possession and just try to stop the rest of the players. So sometimes they'll have 30-35 points, and Purdue could lose like they did at Indiana because Indiana basically just allowed Zach Edey to score. But if you do try to single coverage Zach Edey, then you have all the other players on the Purdue roster that could bite you. But Zach Edey alone makes Purdue a great basketball team because he is so tough to stop. But Fletcher Loyer has been also a key reason why Purdue's been really good this year. He's averaging 12.2 points per game and 2.5 assists per game. He's having a great freshman season. He's definitely overperformed expectations for him in the preseason, and he's a really fun player to watch. He's really good off the dribble, and he's a great three-point shooter. And Braden Smith runs the entire show for the Purdue Boilermakers. He's averaging 9.9 points per game, 4.4 rebounds per game, and 4.4 assists per game. He does not look like a freshman point guard in the Big Ten, especially for a guy that was recruited as a 3-star coming out of high school. He is definitely playing great basketball for Purdue. He hasn't played as well the last couple of weeks, and it seems like maybe the Big Ten gauntlet might be getting to him a little bit, but he's still playing great basketball, and he's a big reason why Purdue's 22-3. Mason Gillis is averaging 6.7 points per game and 3.3 rebounds per game. He's having a pretty solid season. He had one breakout game where he scored 29 points, but for the most part, he is a guy that gives Purdue single digits every game, but he is a really solid player. And Caleb Furst is averaging 6.5 points per game and 5.3 rebounds per game. Caleb Furst and Mason Gillis are both gritty players that are able to hit threes, and they play really good defense, and they've been really solid for Purdue. And Brandon Newman's averaging 5.4 points per game and 2.8 rebounds per game. He hasn't really broken out for Purdue, but he is still a solid bench player for the Boilermakers. And this season, Purdue's scoring 73.9 points per game on offense, and on defense, they're only giving up 61.7 points per game. Purdue has a great team because they're really good on defense, and they make it hard for teams to score a lot of points on them. They've only given up 70 points once this year in a loss, and that was at Indiana. But besides that, Purdue's defense has been fantastic. And on offense, when you have Zach Edey, you're going to be able to score a lot of points. But the rest of the team has stepped up in most of their games this year to provide a lot of offense. And that's why Purdue has a great team, because they're good on both sides of the ball. Now on the Maryland side, they're 17-8 and 8-6 in the Big Ten this season. And Kevin Willard, he's done a great job in his first season as the Terrapins head coach coming over from Seton Hall. And he's done a great job upgrading the roster. And he's getting fans back in the building at the Xfinity Center, because for the last couple of years, there haven't been a lot of fans at the Terrapins home arena. But lately, that place is getting loud and rocking again, and Kevin Willard's done a great job in his first season as the Maryland head coach, getting the Terrapins to play competitive basketball in the Big Ten again. And if you look at Maryland's schedule this season, they've beaten Miami and Illinois and Indiana, and those are their best wins of the season. And they have losses to Tennessee, UCLA, Purdue, and Michigan State. Those aren't bad losses. And they have 4 other losses that are worse than these 4. But Maryland overall has been a great team this year compared to what people thought they were coming into the season. Maryland was projected to be one of the teams toward the bottom of the Big Ten, but they're actually toward the top half of the Big Ten. And that's definitely been a big boost for Maryland. And overall, they have a pretty solid resume, and the wins over Miami, Illinois, and Indiana have really aged well. And Jahmir Young, the transfer from Charlotte's averaging 16.2 points per game, 4.8 rebounds per game, and 3.2 assists per game. He's a great scorer and facilitator for the Maryland Terrapins. Maryland does not have as many assists as other teams have, but Jahmir Young is the best passer on the team, and he does a great job running the Maryland offense. Dante Scott's averaging 12 points per game and 6.2 rebounds per game. He's having a really good season this year. He hasn't broken out to the point where he's the best player on Maryland's roster or an all Big Ten level player, but he's still a really solid player for Maryland who's been around for a few seasons, and he does give the Terrapins consistent scoring. Hakeem Hart's averaging 11.6 points per game and 4.5 rebounds per game. Hakeem Hart's been playing much better this year. He's a player that's gotten better year over year for the Maryland Terrapins, and this year's his best season yet. He's shooting the ball pretty well, and he's playing really well on both sides of the ball. Julian Reese is averaging 10.6 points per game and 6.4 rebounds per game. Julian Reese has a lot of upside. He's playing better this year as well. I think that he still has another gear that he hasn't reached yet, but this is definitely a step in the right direction the way he's been playing this season, and Julian Reese has given the Maryland Terrapins good basketball on offense and defense. Don Carey's averaging 6.7 points per game and 2 rebounds per game. He's having a pretty solid season, and Ian Martinez is averaging 5.8 points per game and 2.6 rebounds per game. He's a really good player off the bench for Maryland. And Maryland this season is scoring 70.8 points per game, and on defense they're only giving up 62.8 points per game. Maryland's been a team that's been up and down on offense this season. At times they've been really good at scoring the basketball, but at other times they've really struggled, specifically on the road. They're a much better team scoring at home. And on defense, they've actually been pretty solid most of the season, not allowing too many points to many teams. Their defense has definitely improved from where it was a year ago, and that's a big reason why they've taken a step up in the Big Ten standings this season. So who do I think is going to win this Big Ten basketball game? This is a game where if you look at both of the records, then you're going to say Purdue's probably going to easily win this game because Purdue only has 3 losses and Maryland has 8. Plus, Purdue's already beaten Maryland this season, even though it was only by 3 points at home. And Purdue has Zach Edey, who is the front runner for National Player of the Year. He's been playing at a high level this season, and his teammates have really stepped up around him and have been playing great basketball in their own right. And Matt Painter is a fantastic head coach. He's been with the Boilermakers for almost 2 decades, and he just knows how to coach, and he knows how to get his team prepared to win tough games on the road. But Purdue has been struggling a little bit lately, and they've lost at Indiana and at Northwestern in the last 2 weeks. And I think that the Big Ten gauntlet is starting to get to Purdue just a little bit. It is really tough to go through the Big Ten schedule unscathed with how hard so many teams play in the conference. And there's not really a night off for any team with how hard all these teams are playing. And I think that Maryland's a team that plays so well at the Xfinity Center. They only have 1 loss this season at home, and that's to UCLA in the non-conference. But besides that, they have not lost a Big Ten game at home, and they've even been able to beat the best teams in the Big Ten at home like Indiana. And now Purdue's coming up next. And I think that Maryland is a team that they play really hard on defense, and they only gave Purdue 58 points in their loss at Purdue earlier this season. It was a 58-55 loss. And I think that if Maryland can keep this a lower scoring game, then I think that Maryland will be able to stay in this game and be able to limit Purdue's opportunities to score a lot of points. Maybe they won't be able to stop Zach Edey and he'll score 30-plus points, but Maryland has the guard play to be able to slow down Purdue's freshman guards, and I think that Maryland's home environment is going to be really loud in this game. It's probably going to be a sellout. They're going to be the loudest that the Xfinity Center has been in a long time. Kevin Willard's done a great job in his first season as the head coach of the Maryland Terrapins, and I think that Jahmir Young, Dante Scott, Hakeem Hart, and Julian Reese are a solid quartet of players that are going to play really hard in this game against Purdue, and I think that if Purdue plays like they did earlier in the season, then I think Purdue can go at Maryland and get this win and be able to stop the road woes that they've had losing at Indiana and at Northwestern recently. And I think this is going to be a really hard-fought battle in the Big Ten, but I'm going to go with the Maryland Terrapins to beat the Purdue Boilermakers 69-64. I think Purdue can win this game. They have the coaching and the players, especially Zach Edey, to get this win, and I think that Purdue plays great defense, and I think they'll be able to slow down Maryland and make this a lower-scoring game, and I think that Purdue's offense is capable of playing well on the road. They've done it many times this season, but I think that Maryland's home environment is really going to help them out in this game. I think that Kevin Willard is going to get his team ready and focused to win this game, and I think Maryland's players are going to do everything they can to win because they know how important this game is for the program, and it would be a really big boost for the team in the future. And I think that Maryland, they showed that they could almost beat Purdue on the road at Purdue. They only lost by 3 in a close 58-55 loss, so I think that Maryland will be able to use that formula and now be able to play a little bit better at home to be able to potentially beat Purdue. And I think this is going to be a great hard-fought battle in the Big Ten with a lot of defense, and Purdue's really capable of winning games like this. But I think that Maryland's home environment and how hard that they're going to play in this game to get this win, and Purdue has been struggling on the road lately, I'm going to go with the Maryland Terrapins to beat the Purdue Boilermakers 69-64 in this Big Ten battle. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Comment down below whether you think Maryland or Purdue is going to win this basketball game and why. And I will see you next time.